Hi, welcome back to the Benchmarkers Rugby Show. My name is Kumbi. I am a data scientist, but I am also a rugby watcher, and a rugby fan. And I am joined by my co-host.
Yeah, guys, my name is Nyasha. I too am a data scientist.
Yeah,
Watch a bit of the games and really pour over all the stats, right?
yeah,
More than I'd like to admit, right? So I'm the AI stats analysis guy, and
right.
and Kumbi's expertise. Hopefully, we make the perfect pairing and we make this enjoyable, bringing some context and some numbers, and just making it fun. But
Yeah,
yeah, Kumbi,
right. It
yeah, it's a
is.
big game.
Yeah, we're looking at today. We're going to be looking at the quarterfinal. I think it's quarterfinal two. Yeah, it's quarterfinal two, which is also it's actually a rematch of the 2019 quarterfinal between Ireland and New Zealand. So I think the massive question for this week is, obviously, is Ireland's never made it past this point, right? So like, can they actually finally, get to that point? Can they finally get over the hump and get to a semi-final?
Yeah.
So that's going to be the big question for the week. So yeah, right. We're just going to jump straight into the numbers, but just before we do that, actually, just a couple of just one housekeeping issue. If you just hear some background, some construction in the background, some traffic, I do apologize for that, and also some chickens in Nyasha's background. We like to give you the authentic African experience, right? So like from the cities to the chickens in our backyards, right? But if you do hear
Yeah.
that, hopefully it doesn't really bother you too much. But yeah, so let's jump in
Yeah,
straight
yeah. I
straight
mean,
into the
it's
data.
it's a World Cup. This is a worldly experience. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
right, right. So, like I said, it's a repeat of that quarterfinal. But this is
Yeah,
where you bully someone, they go back, hit the gym, train, and they come back a lot bigger, right?
right.
And that
Yeah,
and that is Ireland. They went through a growth spurt, and now they're a lot bigger and ready to exact revenge, right?
right,
So, granted, of course, they've never gone past the stage, so there might be a mental barrier, but this Ireland team just seems so mentally strong. Right, so if you haven't watched any of our AI analysis videos, what we do is we have a model that runs the games, looks at well over 100 KPIs, and in this report we only show a couple, I think about six or so, right? And these are the ones the model deems like the most important, also the ones that are digestible. Like, there might be an important KPI that may not make sense to present.
right,
And the last row with the team names, just looking at this table, that's who the model predicts will win the KPI. So it says Ireland will win, and yeah. So just getting into this, it predicts. And when it comes to territory, it predicts Ireland to get more territory than New Zealand, right?
right.
By 6%. Scrum success, Ireland to dominate that, 95 to 81
Oh, that's a
percent.
massive difference, eh?
That takes a get looking
Yeah,
into. But yeah, Ireland are all good. Some runs, New Zealand to make more runs, 126 to 95 for Ireland. Line out success, Ireland to have more line out success, 84 81. Possession 45. So possession is essentially being on the opposite side of territory, with
right,
45% to Ireland, 55% to New Zealand. Line breaks, Ireland four, New Zealand three. So that's marginal. Meters, New Zealand to gain significantly more meters. By 102, to run 102 more meters. Right. So 435 to 333. Defenders
right.
beaten, and this one's interesting. 24 defenders beaten for New Zealand,
That is
and
interesting.
13 for Ireland. But ultimately the model, it does try to keep it in the context of rugby, realism. Because I mean, it could just
Yeah,
put 1,000.
right.
But yeah, so that is interesting. But I back the model. And offloads 5 for Ireland and 4 for New Zealand. Yeah, so it predicts the match winner being Ireland, by more than 9 points. So it predicts the final score 26-17. Right, Ireland 26, New Zealand 17. The
Yeah,
the game deciding KPIs it thinks are line breaks, line out success, and offloads. And Ireland to like I said, Ireland to win by 9+ points. Now I'm sure there'll be some debate, discussion pre-game, And depending how this works out post game, there'll be more debates and discussion in the comments. But yeah, Kumbi, this is the
Yeah.
analysis from the AI. Give us
Right.
your thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is very interesting. I think this is really where we, in my opinion, I think where we really need to consider context, right? I think
Yeah.
so obviously I'm biased because I think that the game is going to play somewhere. I've got some opinions about these teams, right? So yeah, my opinion is going to be, it's going to be skewed based on that. But
The model could be biased, by the way.
right,
I
okay,
was just
I've
going
got more
to.
emotional bias.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So the thing is, right. So you'll see here that New Zealand essentially they're being the model's predicting that they're going to win. Defenders beat him by quite a bit, right? Meters, right. So which means that looks like a successful attack if you're just looking at it, just looking at the stats. And then more possessions, more runs, basically just means that they're just going to have the ball a lot of the time, right? And I think just looking at Ireland, I think Ireland's defense so far, especially against that game against South Africa, the way they lose forwards, especially, but the whole team just works together on defense. And even I think one thing that we just really need to consider here is how successful this Irish team has been recently against New Zealand ever since 2016, really. But I don't think that New Zealand is going because obviously we look at data from days back, a couple of years. And I think New Zealand will play maybe like they'll play Australia within like 2 years, 2 3 years they'll play them about 8 times maybe. And I think that because the game is going to be a little bit more expansive, they're going to have it's going to be a little bit more of a running game. So I think things like meters, because they've been successful against certain defenses, right? I think it's going to be a little bit skewed because when you look Ireland is not that defense is not the same as what you're gonna get against an Australia, right? Like this defense is a little bit different. So I don't know if they so I don't know if they'll be as successful as far as meters, but
Yeah.
if you look at Ireland for instance, right? So I think New Zealand folks, so I think they want to play an expansive game. I think that's clear, right? But if you're on the other side with Ireland, I think they're a little bit more complete, more well-rounded. So the stats were saying that they're winning can be territory, scrums, line-out. So those are your set piece. I think territory is more of like that does come from your set piece, but I think your kicking game as well. I think they're able to push New Zealand into their own half, right? And then you also from that then comes the line breaks and then the offloads, right? But I think the key thing for me when I look at these stats is the fact that Ireland, according to our model, Ireland is then predicted to have more offloads from fewer runs, right? Or I think most importantly, more line breaks from fewer runs, right? Which I think just means that they have a much more effective attack. Or whether that means New Zealand has, because New Zealand's defense they like to shoot up and all that stuff. So I think both sides are correct. Ireland has a more effective attack because of those loops they like to run. They've been doing it for a few years, but then I don't
Yeah.
think New Zealand have figured them out just yet. So I think they've got a really good attack, but New Zealand's defense also they like to push up. They like to try to make like that massive hit, which sometimes if Ireland just delays. If you look at that last test last year in Wellington, that's how they opened them up. So I think there's that to consider. So I do think that Ireland can have a much more effective attack, winning, getting more from less, right? So more with less possession, with less run, with fewer runs, they can get more line breaks, more offloads, and so on. So I do think that this does speak to the effectiveness of Ireland compared to New Zealand. So overall, I do agree. I agree with what we're seeing here. What I
Yeah.
I mean, I'll talk about my prediction at the very end, but yeah, but I do agree with what I'm seeing.
No, for me, that's I don't have much more to add to the model. The
Right.
one thing that maybe just onto some questions we get. The way the model works is it does put more weighting on recent games than previous games.
Right.
Otherwise, otherwise England might be predicted to win this thing.
Right.
Yeah, and actually, to be fair, and New Zealand. Oh, New Zealand's still a fair shot, if I'm being honest. But yeah, so we put a lot of a lot more. The model puts a lot more weighting on recent games because in sports,
Right.
momentum is a thing, and
Yeah.
form is definitely a thing. The games are not necessarily independent of each other.
Right.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that is on my side. that is the analysis. We still do need your prediction.
Right. So, like I
and-
said, I'm going to be finishing these videos off with a prediction. I think this one is going to be. I think this one is more like I talked about emotional bias before. I
Yeah.
do think this. So, to be honest, look. Okay, so here's my prediction. I do think Ireland can win this game, but so the model is saying by 9 points. I think Ireland can win by at least 20 points here, right? So I think for me, I probably would have called New Zealand because I like to make the bold call, but I
Yeah.
would have called for New Zealand. But I think after the match, Ian Foster, the New Zealand coach, basically said, "Listen, if you watch the Irish game versus South Africa and you watch the New Zealand game versus Italy, I think fans want to see the brand of rugby that they saw get with New Zealand and Italy with the 96 points," which I don't agree with. I think it also speaks to just how much they're prioritizing just being expansive, exciting rugby, but then they're not respecting every element of the game, right? I think so. I think it's even manifested in the way that they've booted South African teams out of Super Rugby, saying that they don't, well, maybe not New Zealand rugby themselves, but the media, people at media, think they don't need South African teams, and I think their rugby has been negatively affected because of that. Even like the Black Ferns coach, Wayne Smith, basically said, listen, malls are like legalized obstruction. And then, well, the World Cup finals before he said that, but they conceded 4 or 5 more tries in the World Cup final. I think New Zealand isn't really respecting a complete game or all aspects of the game, right? You have to be prepared to play scrums, lineouts, kicks for 80 minutes, in my opinion. You have to be prepared to play boring games. So I think because of that, to be honest, I honestly think that a win for Ireland is a win for rugby.
Yeah.
At some point, we do need to, a body of work has to count more than just aura. Body of work, consistency, and all that. So, I'm actually hoping that Ireland wins by quite a lot. To be honest. So yeah. But don't take that. Don't put your house on that though. That's just a very emotional prediction.
And if you're a New Zealand fan, don't take it personally.
Right, yeah, don't take it.
Right, ultimately, these are just our opinions, but
Right, yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so from my side, I presented the analysis. I hope you guys agree, disagree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments. Generally, the comments have been, actually almost always, the comments have been very constructive and
Right.
some really good insights and some dialogues, because we, like I said, we have some professors and statisticians in the comments who are analyzing our numbers. So, thank for that because that keeps us on point and it shows that, people are appreciating and understanding the analysis we're doing. So thank you for that. But for me, it can be.
Yeah, and please do don't forget to like the video, comment down below. Like we said, we do appreciate that, and then subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Yeah. But yeah, I will see you guys, guys and ladies, in the next video. Cheers.
Cheers.
At that experience.